Hey guys, welcome back. Joe here again, scalefreak.com. Today we're doing the build of the Proline Back-Half Cage, part number 6322-00. As we've talked before, I am rebuilding F-Bomb. What is F-Bomb? Well, if you're new to the channel, been around for a while, F-Bomb was my Proline F250 Ford with the honcho back half on it. Ran this truck in a very solid running for a very long time. It was probably one of my more favorite rigs, definitely one of my more capable rigs that I've ever had. But I want to update it, and I have another Proline F250 shell here, but I don't want to use the actual axial back half anymore. I want to use the Proline one, so I picked this thing up, grabbed this thing at Skycraft a couple days ago, and I want to get it set up and on the back of that body and ready for the trails. So first, open it up. I'm gonna go through a little bit as to what is actually in this package, what is actually in the bag, and how we put it all together. So the, well, it's a bag, right? So obviously a bag full of screws, a whole bunch of plastics. We've got a back, well, it looks like a fuel cell, just kind of where everything sits on. You've got all the holes, or all of the spacers and stuff, so that when you screw it into the body, it's not gonna pull the screw through the body. You have an optional accessory rack, so if you want to use the Proline accessories like the jacks or the shovels or anything like that, you have that option as well. You, of course, also have the spare tire hold, basically everything to make it look like it's kind of a truggy back half. So right now, I'm gonna trim this all apart. This plastic here is pretty good, nice and strong. Like I can feel it bending it. It's not cheap plastic. Like the fact that I can go back and forth with this and, wow, there, you gotta clip it off. But of course, take the time when you're doing this to make sure you don't keep any parts on there. I don't know if you guys have ever thrown a parts tree out and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, there's one left on there. And then you're digging for a while. And of course, be safe with the hobby knife. Clean off any extras. Run your fingers across it. There it is right there. Just make sure you've got it as clean as possible before you start assembling it, right? Take a few minutes and just make sure there's nothing left on it. It'll pay off in the long run. I'm excited to get this kit back up and running again. Between this one and the Red Devil Recon, those are two of the most, I guess you could call them, recognizable kits on the channel. Been running them in a lot of, I've run them in comps, I've run them in G6, and it's the one that you've seen most of the video series on. So I'm excited to get this one back up and running again and make this one kind of my primary rig. Now, before, F-Bomb used to be running off of the SCX-10 chassis. Now I will be upgrading it to the SCX-10-2. So that's kind of the big upgrade, and it's getting a full electronics upgrade, lighting, everything. It's going to be a much more capable and ready to go rig. But of course, it will still be my colors, red, so you'll recognize it anywhere we go. So first we are gonna start with the base, right? Ta-da, the base. Then you've got this little bad boy here, which is kind of the cage that comes onto the bottom of it. This just clicks on into here. Easy enough. You'll see the holes, and this of course is, well, make sure it's the right side up. There you go. Because remember, that flat part of the, this guy here, hold on. This guy here is going to go onto here, so you have to make sure that the screws are in the right position. So ta-da is where that will go. So just make sure that when you're looking at this, these little guys here, some of them are recessed, but they're flat on this side. So of course, because this is hanging cage, this goes under like that and just clicks into the holes that are there. And you're gonna leaf through your screws here. Find the ones that are all still the same, button head screws. Let me see, 2. There we go. This is your 2 mil. So where did I put it? There it is. And then get them in there. Now, as always, guys, remember, first time you're going into plastic, don't just hammer them down. Let the plastic cool a little bit. Although, these are going in quite nice. You can see that they've actually molded the holes on these things to be relative to the size, so you're not exactly digging tunnels as you're going through here. You're just kind of threading some plastics that are seemingly ready for it. This is a bit of a tougher plastic too, so it's probably not going to be as easy to strip out, but it's also not the most difficult thing in the world to put a screw into, which is handy. Of course, you will feel when it starts to get snug. Once it starts to get snug, let it rest. One of the things that I always suggest too when you're digging into new plastic, this one here is actually not that bad. This doesn't feel like there's that much resistance, so the screw's probably not building up that much heat. But when you're building your first kit, or sorry, when you're building the kit for the first time and you're hammering in the plastics, you will create a lot of heat with the screw from the friction. And be careful, because at that point you may actually start to melt the plastic inside the holes. But it's hard to explain on this particular thing right here. I don't feel like that's the case. I think this is actually going together pretty comfortably. So there's the 4. Like that. So those are in there. Now, of course, we've got this guy here, right? So this is gonna sit on there. And this is using much smaller screws at this point. So grab your 1.5. Oh, even smaller than that. Wow. I'll look for my itty bitty drivers. There we go. The 1.3. Man, I haven't used that one in forever. This is one of my old Durango tools. I haven't used this thing in a long time. So that's gonna go in. Now there's gonna be, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It appears 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's a lot more than 8 screws that this is going in. Get it lined up. Take your time with it. These ones are super, super tiny screws. So again, take your time with that one. Don't hammer these ones in. These threads are so small that if you, I have a feeling that if you kept twisting, they would keep going. And then keep going some more. So be careful with those ones. Maybe get the corners in first, that'll help you. And I'm just kind of tapping them in a little bit. Not tightening them down yet. Now the Axial Cage, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that cage. I've used that for a super, super long time. I just wanted to do something different. You'll see by the time this truck is done, a handful of the stuff that I brought in for it. Of course, I brought in the new Vanquish chassis to convert my SCX-10. And if you guys have been watching the videos recently, I've also brought in a whole bunch of other Proline parts. The Proline Overland Roof Rack, the 4-inch light, the 2-inch lights. So this is going to be the rig, my general purpose, all I guess you could even call it all year round, because I do plan on doing some snow running this year. All year round, all the time. Whatever comps I go to, or anytime that I go scaling outdoors. Anytime I'm not going to use my Trail Finder 2, I will be using this truck. And of course, the same thing I always say in the past, if you see me out at an event, as long as I'm not using that truck at that moment, and you're gonna be cool with it, go ahead and ask, man. You can wheel my rig. Obviously, if I'm using the radio for something else, I'll still need it, but I don't mind letting you try a stage or something like that with my truck. So I think I've got almost all of them in now. Oh, 4 more. Just when you think they're done, there's more. Oh. Those 1.3s are so tiny that it doesn't even want to give up the screwdriver or the hex driver. Some of these things I wish I did use an electric drill, but knowing me, I would just hammer the screws in to the point where they just kept spinning. I used to use an electric drill back in the day, but yeah, you know, you have the idea that you're going to stop and just finish it off the rest of the way, or you think that you just set the torque setting down far enough, and then you end up creating so much heat from blasting the screw in so fast that it just never stops. There we go. So now the base is in. Next up, you've got your spare tire setup, right? So this is going to go on the back of the rig like this. But if you want to use a spare tire, obviously you're going to have to set it up. So you've got this giant screw here. Where is it? Standoff. It's going to go here. The hex is in there. So what you're going to do is there's a couple hexes in here. One of them, of course, is going to fit inside the big twisty dude here. So that's going to go in there for later when I put the spare tire on the back. You can see the Axial one had the same situation. It's what you would see like on one of the bigger trophy trucks. Let's put the washer on the screw. Feed it through the back. This guy on the front. And then of course, there's another little hex in here. Just thread that bad boy down. Yikes. So then of course, you will have to screw it in from the back because the hex is going to fall into this adjustable piece. So then you've got to hand finish it. You could position it where you want it. Right now I'm just kind of going to leave it because what's going to happen, watch if I pull this off here. Wow, this tire hasn't been out of this since I got this set of wheels. So pull this out. This is going to fit onto here like that. And then this is going to fit onto here. And then depending on the outside diameter of your tire, you will have the ability. So that fits fine like that. But if I want to, I can slide it up and down on here to give it either sink it further or higher in the carrier. I think I actually might make it a little bit deeper in. Maybe try it all the way down and see what happens. I mean, obviously I'll have to make some adjustments later, but I'll do that before I finalize it. Let me see. I'm gonna do this real quick, put this on. I know this is something that I could be doing later, but for some reason I just really want to see how it works now. Get my adjustment done before I lock it in. So that's pretty neat. Just keep cranking it down until it's tight. That big spacer is flat, so the more you tighten it down, it is going to flatten itself onto the actual the back face of the rim. So there we go. I put it in there. I am making what seems to be just the right amount of contact. So yeah, I'm happy with that on the bottom setting. I'm using this is the normal size of the Rock Beast, the old school size. So I'm sure if I was using the one that was even higher up, or the Rock Beast XL, I would have to move it up a little bit. But for this particular tire, I don't need to do that. That fits fine like that. I'm just gonna, you know what, I'm gonna leave it on there. Why not, right? This doesn't hurt. So now, of course, these guys here, I might as well put those in. They screw in from the bottom side. 1, 2. I got these bad boys here. So there is an accessory rack that you can put on. you're gonna wanna figure out, number one, if you want to use it, and if you do, you're gonna wanna put it on probably about this stage. The reason being is because once you get that rack on here, so once you get this bolted in, it's not as easy to get at this rack. So I do want to use it, so I might as well slam this thing in there now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I feel like I'm missing one screw out of here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, I am. There's one left. Count them out, guys. Count them out. So now that's on there. Perfect. And then, so those are those tiny little 1-3s. Now the longer 1-3s are what are gonna screw this accessory rack into, I guess you could call it the back rack. It's gonna go up against the back windows. And again, I'm just gonna start the holes, tap it in a little bit, move on to the next one. I do have the accessories somewhere for this, I believe. Actually, I am wrong. Recently, Antler and I went through all of the old parts and may have taken some of the stuff that was laying around and threw it in the bin. So maybe I don't have all those accessories anymore. I have the shovel at least, because you can see the shovel is on there. So the least I can do is pull that off. The way that I do it when I go to events is as long as I brought the tool with me, I don't necessarily have to take it off to use it. But say, for example, as long as I have a shovel mounted on the truck somewhere, that basically says I brought a shovel with me. So even if I just use something that I have in my pocket that I'm carrying with me, I think that's all right, because I brought a shovel on the truck. Same with like a toe strap. I'll usually carry a toe strap in my pocket, but I'll have a toe strap hard mounted to the kit, so I don't need to worry about losing it on the trail. But it will stay in the one in my pocket will be the one that gets used, while the ones that are on the truck will stay hard mounted. Now, one of the things that will help you in this stage as well is if you are going to put it on the body, well, I mean, obviously you're gonna put it on the body. Before you fasten this back rack, do this, right? Grab the body, size up exactly where you want it to be, and mark it with a marker, and then that's how you know exactly where it's gonna fit. Now, as of right this exact moment, actually look, I don't have a marker anywhere in the house, so I'll do it another time. But you can see the idea is to where exactly that's gonna fit on the back. And because it's got these giant spacers, it's going to help not pull it through the Lexan, because that sucks when that happens. So kind of see how we're coming together now? Everything fits in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the actual body, as it goes through on the bottoms, the sides, that is what's going to help fasten the cage to the body and into the cage itself. Now what I'm going to do, even though I'm not mounted in the body at this exact moment, I'm still gonna pop the screws in so you can kind of see the size comparison to the one that I've been using for years. Because maybe you guys have a honcho, the old honcho back half, and you want to upgrade to this one. There's one. And then there's 2. See, again, I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but with ease, one-handed, I'm throwing these things in there. There's next to no resistance until I get near the end of the thread. Then it pulls everything really nicely together, and then you can feel where it gets snug. So this is some really good plastic on this one. I'm not afraid of it. Okay, so there's that one. And then I need piers for the final couple. I need the 2.5 for these big boys. So they're using, to go in through the body, they're using giant plastic spacers and they're using 2.5 mil hexes. So this is some really good hardware to not trash your stuff, basically, is the best way that I can say it. It's less likely when you tumble down a hill with this thing that it's gonna pull through your shell. Which hey, I'm a big fan of not trashing my stuff. Mistakes happen. Actually, you know what, before I put that on there, I'm gonna take this old shovel off of this back half. I'm gonna slide that into here. This shovel has seen a lot of miles on the trail. I'm not even sure if it'll slide in there or not. No, it looks like I may need to get the newer stuff. I don't want to force that in there because it's so brittle I'll snap it. I'll just put it in this bottom one for now. This thing has seen a lot of daylight, so it's probably pretty sun bleached. So, well, there's part of it in there. Okay, so cage up. Start the one. Now, of course, they show you can use this with a number of different bodies. Pretty much anything that just have the front cab, you can slap this on the back, and there's a lot of different bodies like that. I know there's obviously the Honcho, the original Toyota Honcho body you can do. Proline's got a bunch as well. I will be using the Proline F250 again because it's F-bomb, F-bomb being a Ford, as in Ford for F, and the bomb because it's fairly bomb-proof. I do my best to make that truck as strong as possible so that I always make it off the trail. It's usually quite the heavy rig too, so I don't ever want to have to carry it. So I don't need to put the bottom 2 screws in because I'm not mounting it right now, but I just want to get these in to hold the cage together so it doesn't come apart while I'm kind of going over the last little bit talking about it. Now there's one thing I did notice that I appreciate with this is they did not pre-drill the holes in the back for your body holes. Different people put different body holes in different positions. Some people don't use body posts at all anymore. There's also a Knight Customs adapter that you can get, which I think is wicked cool. It actually clamps onto the back, this bar back here. It mounts onto the back so that you can just like flip top it. So that's a huge consideration for me. I really like James Knight. He's a really awesome guy. So I think I might order that in. I just have to figure out if I'm still going to use the big back bumper that I've always been using. So I may actually retire that. We'll see. But this is the cage together. So you can see here, really nice unit. Oh, sorry. No body holes. You can drill the body holes in if you want. These grids on the bottom are kind of the general areas where it could be to give you a reference. But also, they've got flat points that if you wanted to Velcro it in, or if you wanted to use that thing in the back. You can see here the body from the Axial were actually pre-built into it. You know, so be it, it is what it is. But you can kind of use it that way. So you can see that there is a bit of a shape difference. So first of all, the size difference, if you go bar to bar, the Proline is actually millimeters longer, almost negligible. It's not really gonna make that much of a difference. You know what? To the bottom here, what can I use as a reference? Measuring tape. If you went to the bottom of this to the bottom of this, it's the same out. It's the same distance from the front to the back. Height, they are relatively the same. Width, about 7 inches. On the front of this thing, it is 7, but it squeezes out to 6 once you get above the tires. So that's actually kind of neat. Where's my chassis? Where's my chassis? Where is my chassis? Okay, well, I'll use my kids as an example. Just pull the body off. So on this one here, it's still wide on the back end. I mean, not as wide, of course, as the tires, but if they come up, well, this one's not going to touch because the body posts are probably about 3 settings higher than they need to be. But with a big enough tire, you may actually make contact with this bar. If I was using the XLs and this body was actually down against the chassis, this would probably make contact. But with this one here, obviously it won't fit the same because there's no holes in it. It gives you even more side room from side to side to give you more freedom on your tire. So I really like the back design on that one. It seems a little bit more free to use much larger tires. But that's it. Get this out of the way. So that's it, guys. I'm actually, again, excited to throw this onto the kit. It goes together pretty easy. Handful of small screws. You need the 2.5, the 2, and if you want to do it correctly, you got to get yourself a little 1.3 as well. Between a group of people, you guys should all share one of these things. I haven't used this in so long that I forgot I had it. And then get it ready to put it onto the back of your body. So what I'll end up doing is taking the screws back out of the back, marking the holes, making the holes, fastening it in, make sure it fits for size, and then paint the body afterwards. But, oh, one more thing about that. See all that distance you get underneath here? That's a lot. Whereas this one here, it's all taken up by the bottom of the cage that rests on the chassis. This will rest on the back of the chassis, but you've got all of this room for activities right here. I could actually see it'd be pretty neat if I did... Will it fit? Almost. Could you imagine if I could find a way just to stick the battery in there? That'd be kind of neat. I mean, I don't even know how I would... Oh no, I would just use the Night Customs thing on the back and then find a way just maybe to Velcro the battery into there. And, well, it fits a 3-cell. Good on you guys. Good design on that one. Possible. I was always afraid that I was going to run so many lights. That actually fits in there nice and snug. If I put Velcro on the back of that and I stuck it in there, I don't think I would have a concern. It doesn't fall out on its own. So, good size space. Looks like it was meant to be. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching the video on the back half of the Proline kind of truggy cage, I guess you could call it. Part number 63220. Sorry, part 6322-00. I picked this one up at Skycraft here in St. Catharines. If you want to get one and you're in the area, give Kevin a shout. If you're up in Burlington, give Andrew a shout and get yours in. This thing is pretty badass and pretty tough. I'm a fan. The plastic's a little bit different. I also like that the top feels a little bit more open. I feel like I could do more with this. Yeah, I could do more with all of this stuff that's up here. Yeah, I'll just go with that. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share through your community. Pick one of these things up. It's pretty good stuff. And thanks for watching. Have a great night.